So, here is my problem. An absolute quagmire in the underbuild of the villa. And a lot of stuff that I've just moved from this clear side to that duff side. And a lot of junk which the previous owner kindly left me with as well. The whole floor is sloping towards that wall there, which gives me a little bit of a problem, putting it mildly. And that problem is flooding. As you can see by the damp on the wall, we've got some rising damp coming up from the ground there, and that water line you can just about see on the sort of second brick up in there is typically where it floods to. The tile with the horrible concrete on it is actually floor level in a developed part, the other side of that wall, which gives me a bit of a problem because it seeps through the cold join between the floor and the wall and goes through. Admittedly, it's clean water when it's got there, but it's not what you want when you've got stuff in a developed part of a building. This has been the temporary solution, which is a sump pump, but as you'll probably notice, the sump's on a pallet. It's not in the ground, which is something that has to happen. The way that water gets out of the building is I go into this little hole that I dug, which is just about big enough to get a bucket in, and then I can haul the water out of that hole, pour it into the sump, and the sump pump switches on automatically and fires it out down the garden to the road. Soil here is probably the stickiest, most horrible clay that you've ever imagined. And just moving stuff around before I even start digging, as you can see, I grow about 3 inches as I'm walking around, as the clay sticks to my boots and the boots stick to the stones, and I grow up and start banging my head on the roof, hence the hard hat. Yeah, so this is probably, I don't know, maybe 40 centimeters higher than the other side of the underbuild. So there's a lot of soil to come out to get it level, should I wish to get it completely level all the way across. But chiefly the work's going to be on the other side to start with. Work is going to be on this side. So what will happen is, well, on every one of these posts there's a whopping great puddle of concrete around it, and these are piles. They're sort of earthquake proof piles that go down into the ground a very long way, and then the building construction is on top of that. I've got to run some wheat drain, well, not wheat drain, the wheat drain is going to be like a French drain through the centre, probably about 6 foot in, 2 meters in, through the centre of this floor. And at the moment I'm thinking of leaving that as an open drain because of this horrible clay soil. If it doesn't work, I'm just going to pull it out and think again. And then down in this corner here, where I've dug the hole for the sump, there's going to be basically a trench drain that's going to take stuff away, water away, as it runs down the grade in the underbuild, and take the surface water off, and then take it into a sump, which is going to wind up somewhere around my rusty table saw. Yeah, hopefully that will work. It just depends where the sump is. So we'll also have a wheat drain coming from the other corner over there, and settle that down and hopefully dry out a little bit through the combination of channel drains, wheat drains in the floor, and start to dry the ground out. Here's an interesting plumbing concept for you. That drain along that roof takes water not only off that roof but also off one higher up. And now you can see the one higher up. It's quite a big roof of a very large sort of annex on the top of the house and a roof terrace. So yeah, that sheds an awful lot of water, and that little gutter is supposed to pick it up. Needless to say, it's overflowing, but there is another reason for that, and I'll take you in and show you roughly what that is. So the gutter from the wall, the gutter from the roof comes down this downpipe to the wall, and then it goes through into the underbuild. Now that's not a particularly large section gutter, so that might be one problem, but it gets worse. So just here is the square section coming in from that gutter outside, which comes into really horribly lashed up and leaky converter from square to round, and then goes into a reducer into 50mm pipe. Now I've got a funny feeling that's going to be full of leaves or something, but it's not a great way trying to take all the water off that roof into a large-ish pipe and then reduce it down to a small pipe. That's got to be why it's backing up. That pipe runs all the way along that wall with very little fall on it, as you can see, and down to the end where it eventually goes into a saddle behind all the household plumbing into the sewer. Just over there you can see a saddle sort of centre screen now with a very small pipe going in. That's all going to change it to 4-inch. This drain in the ceiling here comes down from the roof terrace, so essentially the roof of the first floor. And as you can see, it runs all the way along this wall here, which seems to have very little fall. I haven't checked it yet. Goes right down into that corner. I have to duck under this beam. Ouch, there goes my head. Bought a hard hat yesterday because I've got a big hole in my head. Runs down into that corner, and then we get a better fall running down to the main sewer. But unfortunately, like everything else here, once that pipe gets to the saddle, it reduces from 4-inch to 50mm and goes into the saddle. So that saddle is going to change to a 4-inch with a wire to take both drainage systems from the roof terrace, which is very large, and when it rains here, comes off the roof straight onto the roof terrace, and that drain's got to try and cope with it through that tiny little pipe. So this is a developed part of the underbuild, done by the previous owners. And we just use it for storage, and there's a telly in there for when the kids are over and a fridge, so that when they're using the pool they haven't got to go climbing back into the house and do things like that. But you can see immediately there's a problem, because there's a step down into the underbuild. And this flat wall here with the pillars in it is the other side of the wall where I'm going to put the drainage trough. So that's at the lowest part of the underbuild, and the joint at the bottom down there is the dry joint, where obviously the water filters through and floods this to a depth of a couple of inches. Hence the fridge is up on blocks. But joy of joys, damp around an electrical socket. Yeah, delightful. It's just one of those things, because of the way it's been built, with no thoughts of getting the water away from the building. And it's not the only point, because also over the other side here you can see that there's some damp on that wall there. So unfortunately the other side of that wall is the garden, and I'll just show you what the problem is, what's causing that. Okay, here comes the science bit. A lump of wood and a pencil. What I've done on this lump of wood is I've put a line, and that line is the top of the windowsill, and the measurement is from the floor of the underbuild. So the wind blew there and blew my pole over. But, right, I've taken this outside now, same windowsill, yeah, and if we look for our mark, it's there where my finger is, something like 8 inches, 20 centimetres above the windowsill. So the damp is being caused by the fact that this floor out here is a lot higher than the floor inside, and it's all that horrible nasty clay which doesn't dry. Excuse me, I'm clearing junk out the underbuild and getting rid of that. So all of this is much higher than it should be, and the only place it can drain is into the underbuild. So the previous guy who owned this had obviously had problems with flooding as well. So without bothering to measure the height of the ground outside the underbuild, he drilled a hole in the wall pointing downwards to drain the water out. But you can guess what happens if the floor is somewhere in the region of about 8 inches higher than that hole. The water's coming in there. Up top there is that roof that drains onto the roof terrace and drains onto the lower roof and floods and overflows that gutter that's there at the front of the house. So the issue now is, okay, there's no gutters on any of these roofs, and that one in particular is causing me a problem, this lower roof here. It's not a very big roof, but when it rains here, loads of water comes off that and straight down onto the steps by the back door and straight onto this path, which runs nicely downhill right to the entrance of the underbuild and into this well here, and seeps under the door because that floods right the way up the door. Now, the previous owner has lashed up a little section of drain in there, and he's taken it to a pipe here, which obviously goes absolutely nowhere, because there is no drains in this garden anywhere whatsoever. So we'll be doing a bit of guttering as well as all of the groundworks, and bring it along that straight line there. Obviously it's going to be more tricky around the curve, so I'm probably not going to do that. I'm still going to let that run off, and I'm going to catch that with a solution at the bottom of the wall. So that straight line of gutter I'll finish just before that right hand of the arch, bring it down the wall, across the top and down into this corner here, and we're going to exit that at the new ground level. All around this curved wall, what I'm going to do is dig down a trench and put in a curved concrete spillway kind of thing, which will take the outfall from the gutter that we just looked at, and also take anything that runs off this roof, and it will take that along right the way around here and across here, in through the door and into the sump, and the pump is going to lift it out. The area in front of this door obviously pulls quite heavily because of the overflow from that gutter, and you know, it does get crazy here in Spain. We get 300 litres a square metre of water that comes down in the space of an hour at times, so you know, trying to manage that and get it out is pretty heavy going. So what I'll do here to try to stop this pooling, in addition to the channel that's coming in from around the curved bit over here, I'm going to drop in a field drain so that that'll have a pipe in it, and that will also go into the sump. And I think I know what you're thinking. So wherever the sump ends up, somewhere over there, it's going to take all of that water that's going to be coming off the building, and also the wheat drain that's going to be in a trench running through the middle of this section, and it's going to try and squirt it out of there. So there'll be an exit from the sump which will come out underground, go up that wall, and a 4 inch is going to go along that wall again straight to the exit point for water generally on the house. And it's mixed here. In this country you have a mixture of foul and clear water that goes into the same drain, so there's no real regs around what you have to do to separate the two. I don't have to go finding a clear water drain. The question, which I think you all are going to have, is one sump going to be enough, and how deep's it going to have to go? Because that little sump there, I mean, that's really just more of a junction box. I couldn't get a sump here. I've just been using that temporarily to bail. That's no way going to be deep enough. I'm going to need a foot below my bottom of the lowest exit drain in order for the pump system to work. So that is not going to do the trick. The answer possibly is getting another one, cutting the bottom out and bolting it on top and dropping it double depth, and I think we should be somewhere near where we want to be from there, given the level that I think the pipes are going to be coming in at. Obviously there's going to be quite full coming around on that pump round the curved wall at the front, the trough, the concrete trough from that curved wall, but that's going to go into a pipe, come underground and go into the sump, so that could be quite low when it comes in. There's going to be a little bit of sort of make it up as I go along on that one, really. But yeah, it's kind of about where we are, and the challenge I've got once I've finished working on my brother's villa to start to dig this lot out. And I mean, this clay is absolutely awful. The water table at the moment is very low. We haven't been flooded for a few weeks. You can probably just see the level in that hole there somewhere. It's not very deep, but obviously it does come up this wall, as the telltales say. I'm also going to tank that wall, because in the event that we have a pump failure, it's going to flood, and I don't really want that to start getting that wall bad again. But yeah, a lot of digging out, a lot of clearing out of the previous owner's crap, and at some point, once I've done all that, this floor will be done properly as well. So I'll bring it in. When I put that trough in, I'll put it in with mine to where the floor is going to go as well, and have a nice little run off onto that. So we'll see how we go, and maybe I'll do a few updates as we go as well. But yeah, what a state! Absolutely unbelievable. But at least it left me some pallets I could put up on bricks and pile all the junk that we brought from the UK. That large box there has actually got, I don't know how much it is, but it's got a load of wheat drain in it and a sock. I won't be using the sock here because this is clay soil. You are not going to be using socks on wheat drains in clay soil. A lot of gravel around it. So, all good.